Hello YouTube, this video is about some figures from the 80s called the INFACEABLES. If you haven't come across these before, they're pretty quirky characters and pretty weird looking, so that's why I really like them. Now when you first buy these, they come with like a little face, and the face is really kind of quite flat and boring. It's like a little rubber thin sheet, and can you see the holes in the faces here? The idea was that if you pull up the torso on these figures, it would have a kind of a sucking effect, and it would suck that rubber face over these kind of uglier faces that were underneath, and it would form this new sort of ugly looking face. So if you want to buy these figures with that original flat rubber face still intact, they're more expensive. And I think that's really silly, because I prefer the faces as you're seeing them now, with that little bit of kind of rubber removed, and you're just seeing the kind of the uglier face underneath. So I managed to pick up this whole set really cheap because of that. I think I paid about £5 each for these, so a real bargain. It's worth buying these if you see them on eBay or something like that, if they're looking a bit grubby and if they've still got kind of half of that rubber face on, because you can pick off the rubber face quite easily. Sometimes it's kind of dry and brittle, sometimes it's a bit kind of sticky and rubbery, but you can remove it fairly simply with a little bit of effort. And then if they're a bit grubby, you can just clean them with some cotton wool buds, and most of the dirt just comes off straight away. It's really easy to do, really fast. So what you're seeing here today is the full set of 8. Now obviously I haven't got all the weapons that come with them. They did have like little straps that go across their body as well. I haven't picked up any of those, I just picked up the figures. But for £40 for a whole set, there's not many vintage toy lines you can get that are as quirky as this that cheaply. If I ever come across the odd weapon or the odd strap really cheap, then I might pick those up as well, but I'm not too fussed. I just wanted to have the main figures. I first came across the INFACEABLES when I was just looking at vintage toys on eBay, and I happened to see one of the ones that has a face that looks like a skull. And I just love vintage toys that have got skull type faces. I mean, think of all of the ones like Skeletor, obviously, and He-Man. There's another one called Scareglow that's really kind of rare. And there's lots of other toys you can buy with skull type faces that are really quite expensive. But when I saw this one from the INFACEABLES and it was like £5, I was like, yeah, I'm having that. And I didn't even realise at the time what the sort of gimmick was behind these. Sometimes, if you're lucky, you can buy them and the whole face has already been removed. Like I say, sometimes you do have to pick it off a little bit, but it can be really crumbly and it can come off really easily. In a bit, I'll show you what these guys look like when they're in their original packets, and I'll also show you what their original faces look like. My other thought was to have 2 of each figure, one with the original face and one with the face like this. But then I thought to myself, no, because it's quite scary. I mean, it takes up more space anyway, but it's quite scary to have those original faces. If they are kind of perfect and still intact, they are so delicate and fragile, I would worry that they were going to kind of break, or a bit, you get a hole in them or a bit would fall off. So I think I'm just going to stick like this. The set of figures ties in quite nicely with other figures that I own already. Things like He-Man, Thundercats, Sectors, Power Lords, all those kind of figures. These just look really cool with those. Incidentally, I put all of these in order of which one is my favourite first, going down to my least favourite ones at the other end. I found this image online that shows all the figures with all their original weapons. That's from @ActionFigureChecklists. I also managed to find this image of all the INFACEABLES characters in their original packets, and these have been collected by a guy called Joseph Rinaldi, so I'm really grateful to him for putting them all together so you could see them all like this. It looks really cool to have them all in their packets, but again, that takes up more space and they cost an absolute fortune when they're in their packets, so I'd rather just collect them loose for like £5 each. Right, let's have a close-up look at these in their packets with their before and after kind of picture and their original face. Do you prefer this face or this face? I think definitely I prefer this face. It's really quirky looking. Then we got this guy. His face was green, which is quite cool, but it looks really quite flat and boring, I think. So would you prefer that one or this one? Again, I think I like this one. It just looks really cool with that sort of outside thing with all the teeth. Then we got this, just looks like a boring human. I don't really like boring human figures. I much prefer things like this that look like a skull. So that one's particularly appealing to me. And this next one as well, look, just purple with slightly square eyes, bit boring. Or another type of skull, this one, different shaped skull, really nice. I prefer this any day of the week. Then we got this one. This one does look quite cool because it's yellow, but it's still quite flat looking. I think I prefer how he looks without his face still, because he looks like some kind of creature from the Black Lagoon. The next figure I wouldn't really rate at all, because he just looks like some kind of boring pharaoh type character with a lot of gold on him. But again, look how flat his face is. But with his face like this, I don't mind him at all, because he's got a real snake-like face. I think because the eyes and the mouth are so basically kind of drawn on, they just look awful and really flat again. This one looks like a lion. Really cool. Much prefer him like this. And then lastly, this one, I probably wouldn't rate him at all, especially not with this face. He just looks like a boring human. But without the face, here you go. He's got this kind of mad kind of grin on his face. So I much prefer him again like this. Do you agree with which one is my favourite and which one's my least favourite? Let me know in the comments which one is your particular favourite. Right, I'll go through all of these figures and give you a better look at them all. This guy's called Tembo, and you can see, I think the reason that he's my favourite is because he's got all these kind of wrinkly legs that look a bit like kind of elephant legs, and just his colour scheme is awesome. And then when you look at his face, he's got these kind of tusks and things, so I really like that guy. I can't really explain why. I think it is mainly the colours on him. Then we got Tuscus, and I really like him because he's got all of these bits that look like bone all over the place. He's got a very snake-like head with kind of fangs, and then he's got this really weird claw leg, and again the top of the leg looks like it's all kind of bone, very kind of skeletal kind of structure to it, and that sort of rib cage that looks a bit like kind of vertebrae. That's really cool. Then we've got Brainor. I really like him because obviously he's got his skull head, but he's also got this kind of brain painted in there inside the helmet. That's pretty cool and a nice little touch. And then his hands are just that really cool shape that looks like a cross between some sort of club and like a sort of a robot hand. Again, he has that real Masters of the Universe look, and he's giving off real Skeletor vibes. It's the same with the next guy because he's got a skull face as well, so he looks a bit like Skeletor. He's called Robash, and again, really funky character. I really like his pincer hands. Anything like that is good. His legs are a little bit bent, so he doesn't stand up particularly well. I might be able to put his legs into boiling water and reset them at some point. They do have little holes for pegs in the bottom. This is Torto the Claw. Really like the colour scheme on this one as well. Reminds me a little bit of like Banana Man. His back is great because he has this tortoise shell, hence the name Torto. And he's called Torto the Claw because he's got the claw, which is this big silver arm. Really like that feature as well. And his face just looks really cool, like I say, like a little creature from the Black Lagoon. Right, this next one's called Sphinx. I think one of the reasons that I don't like him is because he's got all this sort of metallic colour all over him, and the other figures don't have much in the way of metallic, so he doesn't tie in particularly great. He looks a bit like the sort of the odd one out, but I do like the face looking really kind of snake-like. That's my kind of favourite feature of this one. It's just a really kind of quite angry looking face. So remember, these last three are my least favourites, and this next one is called Iron Lion. Every time I think of his name, it makes me think of iron like a lion in Zion. I don't know why, that's just really annoying. But anyway, I do like his face because it looks like a lion. In fact, I might even prefer this one to the Sphinx one I showed you a second ago. I still haven't decided fully. Okay, and then the very last figure, at the moment he's my least favourite. Who knows? I mean, he might grow on me over time, but at the moment I'm not that keen. He's called War Dog. I do like his face with his kind of big, crazy grin. I'll just try and focus on it a bit better. Um, but yeah, apart from that, he gives off real kind of pirate vibes to me, and I've never been really into pirates. I don't know why. Having said that, I do like this kind of skull logo where his belt is. That's pretty cool. But yeah, the rest of him I'm not particularly keen on. But it was nice to pick him up so cheap, and it obviously completes the entire set, so I might as well. So these infaceable figures were made in the 1980s by Galoob, and considering how old they are, they've done really well. And like I say, when you do buy them, they quite often are a bit grubby and they need a clean. So what I thought I'd do is show you one of the figures, which is the one called Brainor, and I thought I would just show you what he looked like when I first got him, and then what he looks like after a bit of a clean. So if you have a look, his legs and everything are really, really grubby. And I literally just use water, just plain old tap water with cotton wool buds, and I just work my way around. I never use anything like, rubbing alcohol or, any kind of cleaning solution in case it wrecks the plastic. But look at the state of his face as well. You can see it's sort of half on and half off. And that's quite often what they're like when you buy them. If you're lucky, you get a face and all of the original face has been removed. That's quite cool. But if it hasn't, you have to kind of pick it off a little bit. You can see though, he's just grubby everywhere. And with about 5 minutes of time, you can go around him with cotton wool buds and you can get rid of all that dirt. Right, let's show you how I did the face. This is pretty basic. You just go in. I don't use anything metal because you might end up scratching the plastic, but this is just a wooden kind of skewer, and this works really well. You could use a cocktail stick, and you can see some of the stuff that I'm removing here is quite easy to get off. Some of it feels kind of slightly sticky, like kind of latex or something that has kind of degraded over time. Some of it is quite brittle, and when you kind of pick at it, it just kind of flakes off. And if you're lucky, it flakes off really easily. It's more the sort of the rubbery, soft rubbery bits that take a little bit of work to get rid of them. But again, you can probably get the whole kind of face off in about 10 minutes on the worst ones. So it's worth the effort, I think, if you're going to be able to pick up the figure for like £5. It's worth mentioning that my Torto the Claw figure came and he didn't have his legs attached. They were separate. So I picked him up for, I think it was like £4.70 something. So real bargain. That was with postage and everything from eBay. So that was great. And again, I just cleaned him all up. Managed to reattach his legs just using an elastic hairband. That was quite quick to do, and now I've got a figure for hardly anything. Okay, this is how Brainor ended up. Think you'll agree, quite nice. Any of these kind of faces where they've still got little bits of the original face left, I might go back in and I might re-pick at them at some other time, but for now they're looking great as they are, so I don't mind. If you like vintage toys, you should check out the rest of my channel because I've got loads of 80s toys. Basically, I've collected back all the toys that I used to own when I was a child, and then I've got into other toy lines at the same time and ended up buying quite a few more as well. So yeah, check those out if you get a chance. Look at the state of all those cotton wool buds. Nasty. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Hit subscribe to see anything else that I post up in the future. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.